No, it's 2 minutes to 0. A real boxer, a real world champion boxer. That the only other time he was in for the fans to get mad with that was against Fury's Tommy Fury, but it wasn't that level, obviously, and all the size things you just rightfully pointed out. But he would have been in there with, I mean, it seemed crazy.
Gervonta "Tank" Davis has shocked fans with his dramatic new physique ahead of his clash with Jake Paul. Famous for his explosive power and compact build, Davis appears to have taken his training to new heights. Recent footage from the gym reveals a noticeably bulkier and more muscular Tank, sparking speculation that he's gearing up to match Paul's natural size and power in their highly anticipated showdown.
You were yelling so much about him fighting someone like somebody your size. His next opponent is, by far, the most credentialed guy ever fought actively in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 135 pounds.
In preparation for his showdown with Jake Paul, Gervonta "Tank" Davis has transformed his training into a full-scale assault on weakness. He's reportedly combining intense strength workouts, heavy sparring, and non-stop conditioning to support a noticeable increase in size. Sources suggest Davis has added heavier resistance routines, emphasizing compound lifts to pack on core and upper body muscle. Despite the bulk, he continues his trademark speed and footwork drills to maintain agility. Additionally, his sparring partners now include larger, more physical fighters, some close to heavyweight size, to help him adapt to battling bigger, stronger opponents.
Yeah, this side, mind over matter, son. Mind over matter. This is the blue zone. Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. Nigga trying to stay away from the desert. He come in the desert. When the night is cold.
Say like, camera, action.
And fight.
Like, action, kill.
Come on, take. Work out. Dig down there. Don't take off. Remember they got that gun on that tank.
When the night is cold.
Hey, you keep me here late tonight. Good job.
It's been hard being away from my daughter. She actually here, she sleep. Just being away from her, it was a little touchy, but I know when I'm up, I guess. I know that I got pay-per-view. I know I'm fighting a tough opponent, so really I know how to lock in. I know how to shy away from everything. I know how to, I know how to fool around.
However, Jake Paul naturally competes at a much heavier weight, with their bouts set at a 195-pound limit, and both men using 12-ounce gloves. For Gervonta "Tank" Davis, who typically fights around 135 pounds, that's an enormous gap to overcome. The size difference has sparked major concern among analysts, who warn that adding too much muscle could diminish Davis's signature speed and explosiveness, the very attributes that have defined his dominance and made him one of boxing's most feared punchers.
Paul Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar.
fast,
It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but
But Jake has
Jake
better
Paul
boxing.
now obviously is way more advanced way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean, it's
Gervonta's
just.
fucking sick.
I mean, yeah, no, but dude,
Did you
Jake,
ever watch his highlights?
Jake can
He's
crack,
nasty,
man.
He's so sick.
He's
I love
nasty.
that guy, bro.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. Give the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skills, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. Well, no, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Tank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a dum.
UFC President Dana White didn't hold back when addressing potential clash between Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis. He claimed there isn't much genuine excitement surrounding the fight, though he admitted it could still benefit Davis in several ways. After enduring a series of negative headlines and a dip in public momentum, White suggested that Davis might see this as a financial and reputational lifeline. Paul's lucrative offer, arriving at a time when Davis needs renewed visibility, could help him regain attention both inside and outside the ring. Still, White questioned the matchup's legitimacy, emphasizing the massive physical disparity. He pointed out that Jake Paul's size, reach, and brute strength would allow him to lean on Davis, tie him up in clinches, and neutralize his offense. While acknowledging Davis's superior skill and technical precision, White argued that such advantages might fade once the smaller fighter steps into Paul's weight domain. To him, the bout isn't just about boxing ability. It's a brutal experiment in endurance and adaptation. Ultimately, White framed it as a test of whether Davis can survive and thrive under the overwhelming physical power Jake Paul would inevitably bring.
Jake Paul to beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around. That's where I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible. And the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So, I do like it for this reason, though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight and says something to the effect that, hey, he was talking to Logan Paul and said, hey, when you were fighting Floyd, you know, there was this, you're a gigantic guy, big size difference. There was a time when Floyd Mayweather Jr. had an overhand right that landed flush on Logan Paul.
Bare-knuckle fighter and former UFC star Mike Perry didn't hold back when discussing the rumored Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul showdown. Perry slammed Davis for what he called a cash grab, accusing him of chasing money rather than meaningful competition. He questioned whether Tank still possesses the same hunger and drive that once made him a world champion. According to Perry, Davis's decision to fight a YouTuber-turned-boxer suggests he's more interested in fame and fortune than legacy and greatness. Perry even implied that Jake Paul's current discipline and work ethic might outshine Davis's. His bold remarks have reignited heated debate among fans about whether Tank's motivation lies in proving his skill or padding his wall.
Jake is big. Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw, and, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
During his face-off with Jake Paul, Gervonta "Tank" Davis appeared unusually tense, a stark contrast to his usual calm, confident demeanor. Observers noted his stiff posture, minimal eye contact, and controlled but uneasy expression, hinting that the size gap between the two might have unsettled him. Facing the visibly larger Jake Paul, Davis seemed to grasp the magnitude of the physical challenge ahead. While some fans viewed his restraint as focus, others interpreted it as quiet apprehension or uncertainty about what's to come.
Tank looked very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's gonna win. That's what it means.
Teddy Atlas shared his blunt take on the face-off between Jake Paul and Gervonta "Tank" Davis, stressing the striking size disparity between them. The veteran boxing analyst even joked that Davis looked so small next to Paul, he'd need a ladder just to reach his chin. Atlas admitted that differences in size and style are common in boxing, but argued this particular matchup pushes the limits of fairness. He compared it to Canelo Alvarez moving up to fight Terence Crawford, yet noted that even Crawford was never as undersized as Davis is here. According to Atlas, Tank's shorter reach and smaller frame make the bout look heavily one-sided from the start. More spectacle than legitimate competition.
Right? They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in a contract. But I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank: a ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look. Okay, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but a little different. The size difference was, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping. And it made me think, and I'm going to ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm going to ask him, because I know he's an expert in this area, but it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Thunderlips. He was Thunderlips back there. And I thought I had it right, and it was confirmed to me. It's Rocky Trick.
Shakur Stevenson didn't hold back when addressing the rumored Jake Paul versus Gervonta "Tank" Davis fight, calling it a terrible matchup for boxing. The undefeated champion argued that the bout lacks real competitive value and exists purely as a money grab, not a genuine test of skill. Stevenson stressed that the massive size difference between the two fighters makes the event feel more like entertainment than an authentic boxing contest.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah.
It's a huge size advantage, though.
It is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
Leonard Ellaby explained that Gervonta "Tank" Davis was dealing with significant personal challenges and didn't want to add more pressure at the time. According to Ellaby, this lack of motivation was the main reason the anticipated fight never materialized. He added that Tank was prioritizing his personal well-being over competition, and distancing himself from Freddie Roach helped him avoid further stress.
He said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it, and he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach, and that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily Lomachenko.
Jake Paul's approach to boxing often seems fueled more by promotion than pure athletic pursuit. Instead of chasing rankings or legitimate title contention, Paul carefully chooses opponents who generate buzz and guarantee massive attention. His matchups, ranging from retired MMA fighters to smaller boxers like Gervonta "Tank" Davis, are designed to spark headlines, viral moments, and endless social media engagement. By merging entertainment with competition, Paul masterfully blurs the line between sport and spectacle, ensuring maximum viewership regardless of fairness. One of the most talked about elements of the rumored Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight is the drastic physical disparity between them. Paul, who's accustomed to fighting naturally bigger opponents, holds clear advantages in height, reach, and overall size. Meanwhile, Davis, standing just 5 feet 5 inches and competing around 130 pounds, is stepping far outside his usual divisions, where his speed, explosiveness, and knockout power have long made him one of boxing's most dangerous and respected talents.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis is actually happening. What the is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who's training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry had a competitive fight with Tommy Fury, but it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy first round knockout for me.
MMA veteran Nate Diaz dismissed the rumored Jake Paul versus Gervonta "Tank" Davis fight entirely, saying he had no interest in even predicting the outcome. Diaz argued that the matchup isn't a genuine sporting contest, but rather a money-driven spectacle built purely for pay-per-view sales. He criticized modern boxing for drifting towards staged, profit-focused events that erode the sport's authenticity and heritage. According to Diaz, fights like this prioritize showmanship over real competition, making it impossible for him to take them serious.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody. But I don't think
he's just too small.
It's just
I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually. I'm not hating on the fight, but I think my thoughts on it is let's watch it, see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said in boxing turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. You agree? Understood. Last thing, White House card, like you said, you want Conor McGregor.
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE, so at least that's happening and something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward to that fight.
Michael Bisping has voiced strong concerns over Jake Paul's decision to fight Gervonta Tank Davis given the extreme weight disparity. He noted that Paul is preparing to face an opponent nearly 100 pounds lighter, a move that challenges the natural fairness of boxing. Bisping compared it to Paul's previous matchup with 58-year-old Mike Tyson, which many already viewed as questionable. He argued that fights like these reflect a troubling shift in the sport, where spectacle often replaces true competition. Instead of promoting meaningful bouts that determine champions or settle rivalries, Bisping believes promoters are increasingly prioritizing attention-grabbing events that blur the line between entertainment and legitimate athletic achievement, risking the sport's integrity in the process.
At least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word, whoa, stop being such a bully, leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers.
Do you view this matchup as an exciting crossover event or merely another publicity stunt damaging boxing's credibility?